What's up, guys, and welcome back to my channel. Welcome to my channel if you are new. I am Lace, C-A-S-M-R, and welcome. Today is a slightly different video. I was kind of like debating what to do, and I've lost my torch. I was going to do a certain video that I will have to do another time now. So I was kind of thinking what to do, and I have this book. It's called The Final Empire. The Final Empire. It's not by Brandon Sanderson. I've only read some of the book. I've not finished the whole book. So I was thinking maybe we read a book. I keep saying I want to get back into reading because, if I'm being honest, guys, I've not read a book in so long. So I thought, why not do a video or videos? Maybe make a series of reading books, you know, and let me know if you guys enjoy it, you know. But yeah, so the Final Empire. I don't know if you probably can't even read that because I'm using my front camera on my phone, not my back camera, so you actually probably can't read that. It says the Final Empire. Okay, I'm not going to spoil anything for you, but we're just going to jump straight into it. We'll probably read a little bit at a time. Obviously, I'm not going to read the whole book, but let me know what you guys think. Okay, we are going to get into it. Also, if I misspell things, it's because I'm stupid. There's a map of where it's based. So, okay. We're gonna start with the prologue. Guys. Prologue. Okay, are we ready? Hopefully you guys enjoy this video. Well, depending on how it does, depending on if we continue it. But if you guys do want to see more of these, let me know. I need you guys to let me know what you want. If you want to see more of the reading videos, I'll do more of the reading videos. Okay. The prologue. We'll start with the prologue. Ash fell from the sky. Lord Tristan frowned, glancing up at the ruddy midday sky as his servants scuttled forward, opening a parasol over Tristan and his distinguished guests. Ashfalls weren't that uncommon in the Final Empire, but Tristan had hoped to avoid getting soot stains on his fine new suit coat and red vest, which had just arrived via canal boat from Latherdale itself. Fortunately, there wasn't much wind. The parasol would likely be effective. Tristan stood with his guest on a small hilltop patio that overlooked the fields. Hundreds of people in brown smocks worked in the fallen ash, caring for the crops. There was a sluggishness to their efforts, but, of course, that was the way of the Scar. The peasants were in an indolent, unproductive lot. They didn't complain, of course. They knew better than that. Instead, they simply worked with bowed heads. Turns out I can't read. Bowed heads, moving about their work. Yeah, that is what that said. Moving about their work with quiet apathy. Apathy. Guys, I promise I know how to read. I promise. The passing whip of a taskmaster would force them into dedicated motion for a few moments, but as soon as the taskmaster passed, they would return to their languor. Guys, I barely passed English, just so everyone knows. for this insane reading course. Tristan turned to the man standing beside him on the hill. One would think, Tristan noted, that 1,000 years of working in fields would have bred them to be a little more effective at it. The obligator turned, raising an eyebrow, the motion done as if to highlight his most distinctive feature, the intricate tattoos that laced the skin around his eyes. The tattoos were enormous, reaching all the way across his brow and up the side of his nose. This was a full prologue, a very important obligator indeed. Tristan had his own personal obligators back at the manor, but they were only minor functionaries with barely a few marks around their eyes. This man had arrived from Lauderdale with the same canal boat that had pulled Tristan's new suit. You should see City Scar, Tristan, the obligator said, turning back towards the Scar workers. These are actually quite diligent compared to those inside Lauderdale. You have more direct control over your Scar here. How many would you say you lose a month? Oh, half a dozen or so, Tristan said. Some to beatings, some to exhaustions. Runaways? Never, Tristan said. When I first inherited this land from my father, I had a few runaways, but I executed their families. The rest quickly lost heart. I've never understood men who have trouble with their Scar. I find the creatures easy to control, if you show a properly firm hand. The obligator nodded, standing quietly in his grey robes. He seemed pleased, which was a good thing. The Scar weren't actually Tristan's property. Like all Scar, they belonged to the Lord Ruler. Tristan only leased the workers from his god, much in the same way he paid for the services of his obligators. The obligator looked down, checking his pocket watch, then glanced up at the sun. Despite the ashfall, the sun was bright this day, shining a brilliant crimson red behind the smoky blackness of the upper sky. Tristan removed a handkerchief and wiped his brow, thankfully for the parasol's shade against the midday heat. Very well, Tristan, the obligator said. I will carry your proposal to Lord Venture, as requested. He will have a favourable report from me on your operations here. Tristan held in a sigh of relief. An obligator was required to witness any contract or business deal between noblemen. True, even a lowly obligator like the ones Tristan employed could serve as such a witness, but it meant so much more to impress Strath Venture's own obligator. The obligator turned toward him. I will leave back down the canal this afternoon. So soon? Tristan asked. Wouldn't you care to stay for supper? No, the obligator replied, though there is another matter I wish to discuss with you. I came not only at the behest of Lord Venture, but to look in on some matters for the canton of Inquisition. Rumours say that you like to dally with your Scar woman. Tristan felt a chill. The obligator smiled. He likely meant it to be disarming, but Tristan only found it eerie. Don't worry yourself, Tristan, the obligator said. If there had been any real worries about your actions, a steel inquisitor would have been sent here in my place. Tristan nodded slowly. Inquisitor. He had never seen one of their inhuman creatures, but he had heard stories. I have been satisfied regarding your actions with the Scar woman, the obligator said, looking back over the fields. What I've seen and heard here indicate that you always clean up your messes. A man such as yourself, efficient, productive, could go far in Lauderdale. The So I'm assuming Lauderdale's like the place to be. That's like the big place, the main place. A few more years of work, some inspired mercantile deals, and who knows? The obligator turned away, and Tristan found himself smiling. It wasn't a promise, or even an endorsement. For the most part, obligators were more bureaucrats and witnesses than they were priests. But to hear such praise from one of the Lord Ruler's own servants, Tristan knew that some nobility considered the obligators to be unsettling. Some men even considered them a bother. But at the moment, Tristan could have kissed his distinguished guest. Tristan turned back towards the scar, who worked quietly beneath the bloody sun and the lazy flakes of ash. Tristan had always been a country nobleman living on his plantation, dreaming of perhaps moving into Lauderdale itself. He had heard of the balls and the parties, the glamour and the intrigue, and it excited him to no end. I have to celebrate tonight, he thought. There was that young girl in the 14th hovel that I've been watching for some time. He smiled again. A few more years of work, the obligator had said, but could Tristan perhaps speed that up if he worked a little harder? His scar population had been growing lately. Perhaps if he pushed them a bit more, he could bring in an extra harvest this summer and fulfill his contract with Lord Venture in extra measure. Tristan nodded as he watched the crowd of lazy scar, some working with their hoes, others on hands and knees, pushing the ash away from the fledgling crops. They didn't complain, they didn't hope, they barely dared think. That was the way it should be, for they were scar. They were. Tristan froze as one of the scar looked up. The man met Tristan's eyes, a spark, no, a fire of defiance, guys, showing in his expression. Tristan had never seen anything like it, not in the face of a scar. Tristan stepped backward reflexively, a chill running through him at the strange, straight-backed scar. Held his eyes and smiled. Tristan looked away. Gordon, he snapped. The burly taskmaster rushed up the incline. Yes, my lord. Tristan turned, pointing at. He frowned. Where had that scar been standing? Working with heads bowed, bodies stained by soot and sweat. They were so hard to tell apart. Tristan paused, searching. He thought he knew the place. An empty spot, where nobody now stood. But no, that couldn't be it. The man couldn't have just disappeared from the group so quickly. Where would he have gone? He must be in there, somewhere, working with his head, now properly bowed. Still, his moment of apparent defiance was inexcusable. My lord, Gordon asked again. The obligator stood at the side, watching curiously. It would not be wise to let the man know that one of the scar had acted so brazenly. Work the scar in that southern section a little harder. Tristan ordered, pointing. I see them being sluggish, even for scar. But a few of them. Beat a few of them. Gordon shrugged, but nodded. It wasn't much of a reason for a beating. But then, he didn't need much of a reason to give the workers a beating. They were, after all, only scar. Kelsier had heard stories. He had heard whispers of times when once, long ago, the sun had not been red. Times when the sky hadn't been clogged by smoke and ash. When plants hadn't struggled to grow. And when scar hadn't been slaves. Times before the Lord Ruler, those days, however, were nearly forgotten. Even the legends were growing vague. Kelsier watched the sun, his eyes following the giant red disk as it crept toward the western horizon. He stood quietly for a long moment, alone in the empty fields. The day's work was done. The scar had been herded Soon the mist would come. Eventually, Kelsier sighed, then turned to pick his way across the furrows and pathways, weaving between large heaps of ash. He avoided stepping on the plants, though he wasn't sure why he bothered. The copse hardly seemed worth the effort. Wan, with wilted brown leaves, the plants seemed as depressed as the people who tended them. The scar hovels loomed in the waning light. Already, Kelsier could see the mist beginning to form, clouding the air and giving the mound-like buildings a surreal, intangible look. The hovel stood unguarded. There was no need for the watchers, for no scar would venture outside once night arrived. Their fear of the mist was too strong. I'm not sure why they're scared of the mist, but I'm sure we'll find it out. I have to cure them of that someday, Kelsier thought as he approached one of the larger buildings, but all things in their own time. He pulled open the door and slipped inside. Conversation stopped immediately. Kelsier closed the door, then turned with a smile to confront the room of about 30 scar. A fire pit burned weakly at the centre, and the large cauldron beside it was filled with vegetable dappled water, the beginnings of an evening meal. The soup would be bland, of course. Still, the smell was enticing. Good evening, everyone, Kelsier said with a smile, resting his back beside his feet and leaning against the door. How was your day? His words broke the silence, and the woodmen returned to their dinner preparation. A group of men sitting at the crude table, however, continued to regard Kelsier with dissatisfied expressions. Our day was filled with work, Trevor, said Tepper, one of the Scar elders. Something you managed to avoid. Field work hasn't even really suited me. Ever really suited me, Kelsier said. It's far too hard on my delicate skin. He smiled, holding up hands and arms that were lined with layers and layers of thin scars. They covered his skin, running lengthwise as if some beast had repeatedly raked its claw up and down his arms. Tepper snored. He was young to be an elder, probably barely into his 40s at most. He might be 5 years Kelsier senior. However, the scrawny man held himself with the air of one who liked to be in charge. This is no time for levity, Tepper said sternly. When we harbour a traveller, we expect him to behave himself and avoid suspicion. When you ducked away from the fields this morning, you could have earned a whipping for the men around you. Guys, we are going to end that there. Hopefully you did enjoy. This video. It is longer than normal. We will do the video I wanted to do next time. This reading won't be every video, just every now and then. But if you guys did enjoy, don't forget to like and subscribe. If you have forgotten, I have been late. See